Hello and welcome to The Sexual Alchemist, a podcast on relationships, sex, magic, and more. I'm Sexual Alchemist, certified sexpert, and relationship counselor Michelle Torrens, and you have just entered my fun world. Welcome. This podcast is all about sex, sexuality, sexual play, education, relationship, communication, cosmic consciousness, magic, and so much more. This is a safe space for exploration, expansion, and a connection within the deepest parts of yourself, as well as connection with others who are vibing at the same frequency field as you. So grab a drink, grab some cannabis, sit by the fire, or lounge out by the pool, and let's go in and have a magical conversation. See you in there. Hello, my beautiful rising humans, and welcome to the relaunch. Can you hear the excitement in my voice? I'm sure you can hear the smile. I actually have some nerves too. It's been so long since I've recorded an episode, and some things have changed. It's been one fucking year, right? Holy shit, it's been a hell of a fucking year. And welcome to 2022. Holy shit, 2022. Oh my gosh, this is kind of an exciting, scary, crazy, liberating, all of these wonderful things. 22, of course, being a master builder number. So this is a year of building and building all the magic that is within. So it's going to be a fantastic year. It's going to be a magical year. Excuse me. And we're going to be having so much fun here on the show. I am so excited to share with you all of the amazing, exciting things that are going to happen. I may actually, I don't know if I'm going to do a post or maybe an episode as to what's to come, or just start, I just looked at 111, just start sharing and just start keeping the recordings going. So maybe I'll do a separate episode that explains everything, so that way we can just get on into this episode. First of all, if you are new, welcome to The Sexual Alchemist. This is our third name of the podcast. We've been growing. We have really expanded, and I feel like we're settling into this paradigm of existence and this consciousness of what it is that we're doing and the work that I'm doing. And when I say we, know that I'm including my spirit crew and my guides, the universe, everything. And those of you, of course, who support me. We're all in this together. So I'm so glad you're here. I can't stop smiling. Maybe it's the weed. Grab yourself some weed, of course. Grab something to drink. This episode is definitely for the 18 plus. This episode is definitely not for the littles. So this episode is all about spicy and erotic, sexy talk with our partners, really re-engaging or reinvigorating, or maybe shifting your relationship with your partners to a different level, and just allowing yourself to get comfortable in having erotic talk with your partner. Talking dirty or sexy talk or spicy talk or erotic talk is something that is extremely fun and can be extremely liberating and exhilarating and exciting for not only you, but also your relationship, and taking it to another level of higher connection, higher intimacy, deeper intimacy, and better communication all the way around. So we're going to kind of break this down in like an education style podcast, of course, with me. There are still going to be some tributaries of travel. So if we go off on a tangent or something starts to channel in, we're just going to roll with it, and we'll see what happens in the editing process. So let's go ahead and dive in. First of all, we're going to do the whats, the wheres, the hows, the whys, the whos, the whens, all of that jazz. So sit back, enjoy, grab a place that's comfortable. If you want to take notes, you can definitely take notes. This is going to be really, again, part of an educational system. If we haven't talked about it yet, I have finished up and finishing up my certification for being a certified sexpert and relationship counselor. And so sex education, sex coaching, exploration with partners, communication between partners, and relationship counseling. This is where I am at. If you want to have a visual of where I vision and envision myself, I have expressed this before to my friends and people I've talked to, and of course, if you're following me on social media, I've expressed this over there too, but I really truly vision myself and envision myself as the mom in Meet the Fokker, Roz Fokker, right? She's amazing. Her energy is fantastic, and she works with all sorts of different people in really exploring their sexuality, their sexual nature, their sexual freedom, really transmuting shame, and then also working on the physical aspects to help have a better sex life from the physical standpoint. So this is where I am headed, and I feel like the year 2022, this is kicking it off. So why not kick it off with talking dirty? So talk dirty to me. So here we go. So what are the different types of erotic talk that are out there? First of all, there's so many different types of erotic talk. I think the biggest one that we'll tap into slightly here, because I have another episode in February, which I'll be getting to, but most erotic talk is surrounded and centered around our fantasies. And when we're able to express our fantasies with our partners and talk about it and really kind of get into the nitty gritty of it, it can really take your relationship to a different level. And not only your relationship, but it also takes you yourself to a different level. The sexual awareness that you have, it helps with healing sexual trauma. Of course, creating trust, increasing intimacy, like I said, transmuting shame. There's so much sexual shame still in the collective. I have seen, since I've been doing this work for the last few years, I have seen an increase for sure in people becoming more and more liberated around their sexuality, more liberated around their sex identities, around the sex life that they have, and just their sexual freedom, allowing themselves to express themselves throughout their sexual natures, and also recognizing when and when not to have sex. So I'm loving watching the expansion and the liberation of this, and I feel like it definitely goes in waves. We have the sexual liberation back in the 60s as well. And that was really, free love. So I'm loving seeing this like next level of it. And I love seeing that with this next level, this new awareness, this kind of separate or different, or what's the word I'm looking for? Expanded paradigm. I'm definitely seeing a lot of consensual talk, consent around everything, not just our sex, but consent around anything that we have, especially as we are raising children, which we'll not get into this. This is, again, I digress. So let's get back to the point. So a lot of the types of erotic talk typically center around fantasies. There's also sensual talk, which we'll get into. There's also like surrealism. So an example of surrealism is talking about doing it in a rose garden, but doing it on rose bushes is not so realistic, which kind of takes us out of our fantasy exploration and conversation with it. And so why is it important? And we're going to go through and break these down, but I just kind of wanted to give you some of these bullet points because that's how my brain works. We've touched base on a few of things why it's important. Sexual trauma, definitely allowing ourselves to work through the witch wound and the mother wound, as well as the father wound, all of the wounds that we have, right, that we have all been doing the work on. Everything seems to be centered around sexuality and our sex life, our sex experience, our sex awareness. And that's because everything that starts with creation starts with our sacral chakra, which creation is that of sex. So everything is centered around our sexuality and the sensuality of our existence. So helping heal sexual trauma, helping transmute sexual shame, like I said before, creating more trust within yourself and your partner. Definitely increasing intimacy and better communication. When you are able to have an intense or in-depth erotic talk situation or sexual experience, you and your partner are in the middle, and you guys are going hot and heavy, and you guys are talking, and you're able to communicate all of these sexual, dirty, erotic talk. Then when you go to other communicative aspects of your relationship, it can be a bit easier because so much shame is around our sex and our sexuality and our sexual experiences. So I'm going to have some great tips for you on how to get started. There's actually a formula that we could go through to kind of help you kind of get started if this is new for you or if you find yourself uncomfortable. And we're going to go ahead and, oh, deja vu. We're going to go ahead and take a hit real quick. Let's go ahead and take a hit. Meet me back here. Okay. I've got this great weed, which we'll talk about. I'm going to do an episode on aphrodisiacs as well. But we grew Acapulco Gold, and this strain, it's an aphrodisiac strain anyways, kind of like Valley Girl, which is a great strain as well. But this is such a wonderful, uplifting one, and it definitely gets you into the mindset of talking about sex. So, when we talk about erotic talk and we talk about how it can help heal sexual trauma, how it can help us actually become better partners and also just better better humans and have a better relationship within our own sexual self. So when we talk about our self-concept, right, some of the old self-concepts that we have or self-concepts that we do have of what's been programmed of us, like in women, a devoted wife or a stern mother or a health nut or a responsible taxpayer, you know, all of these self-concepts that we describe ourselves. Well, who are you? We tend to describe who we are through our self-concepts, how we see ourselves, how we visualize ourselves, how we perceive ourselves. And by being able to talk dirty and have erotic talk with yourself and your partner, you can really start to change yourself and allow yourself to explore aspects of different self-concepts of yourself, how you can see and perceive yourself, kind of like role playing, which we'll talk about that more slightly in this episode, but definitely when we talk about the fantasy episode. So an old self-concept, you know, a devoted churchgoer, an ethical neighbor, a proud homeowner can definitely turn into and shift into irresistible temptress, an erotic belly dancer, an easy slut, a high-end sex worker, a versatile porn star. So this gives us the opportunity when we are talking in erotic talk, it instantly puts us into a fantasy mode, but it starts in that fantasy mode and allows us to move it into more of a reality mode and really start to see ourselves in these strong, empowered, sexy ways that we never thought that we could see ourselves before, or we would have shame around it or trauma around it. And not only playing around with your erotic talk, not only does it help you shift your self-concepts of yourself and the way that you can perceive yourself in different roles, because we're not just one faceted being. We are multifaceted beings. We are a combination of multiple different frequencies and experiences. I mean, we are constantly ever changing and growing and spiraling. And so to fix yourself to one fixed set or self-concept of yourself, you are really missing out on the whole experience of being human. And a lot of times we put these sexual restraints upon ourselves. Erotic talk and talking dirty can help you overcome a lot of these sexual restraints. So exhaustion or emotional distress or low libido, or even if a condom is unavailable and there's no way to have that protected sex, there's ways that you can utilize erotic talk to really talk with your partner while she's masturbating. You know, you can do mutual masturbation. You can tell her, you know, gosh, I love watching you finger yourself, and I just want to sit here and I just want to hold you down and suck on these titties, and all of these wonderful things that you can talk to her and explore and create the scene for her, which when we talk about fantasies, which we'll talk slightly about right now, when we talk about fantasies, for men, the fantasies are definitely much more visual. For men, the fantasies are more visual, more descriptive of body parts. For women, it's definitely more of the behaviors and setting a scene. For men, it's a more multiple partners or people, random people that they've never met. For women, it's more people who they have a connection with, because there's more of an emotional connection. Now, when I say men and women, of course, I understand that there's multiple genders, but I'm utilizing these particular ones as a case. So whether you identify as a man or identify as a woman, whether that's masculine energy or feminine energy or a mixture of both of these aspects, you may find yourself a mix of both of them, which is a fantastic thing to become aware of, because that allows you the opportunity to kind of explore these aspects of yourself. And when you explore these sexual aspects of yourself, yourself, then you're able to really tap in and expand. You're able to go through the healing aspects that we've gone through, healing sexual shame, transmuting that, healing sexual trauma, recreating a relationship with your sexuality. Uh, there's that difference there. So when I'm talking about men and women in that binary sense, I'm just kind of explaining that aspect of just for purposes of this. So if you find yourself aligned with either of them or both of them or neither of them, you know, a lot of asexual people out there, mostly your asexual person does not have a sexual desire or a connection with somebody. There is no need or desire for sex. It may happen periodically depending on the person and where they're at. I would highly encourage you to take the erotic blueprint test and figure out what is your erotic blueprint. Just like your love languages, the erotic blueprint explains what you, how you love to receive sexual encounters and how you love to explore it, and how others can explore it with you. And it helps you really kind of get to understand your body, your sexual energy, your preferences, your sexuality, a whole lot more. And a lot of things may start to make sense. But again, you know, there's so many restraints that are put upon us in our sexual life. There could be, you know, ED or medicinal side effects, physical limitations. It could be physical monogamy. If you are wanting to explore the idea of threesomes, talking about it in a fantasy first, exploring with your partner, whether you're wanting to have two women and a man or two men and a woman, or depending on your relationship, however that threesome looks like for you, having that erotic talk and expressing and playing out that fantasy in your mind with each other and exploring that, you'll be able to tap into any sort of emotional responses and physical responses that will help you dive into healing. When there's so many sexual restraints that are happening in your world as well, erotic talk can really help kind of keep that sexual exploration going, that fire going, that passion going, that excitement going. And however you define sex, of course, intercourse is not the only way sex happens. Whether you're going down on her, whether you're sucking his cock, or whatever it is that you are doing, foreplay, which we'll have an episode on foreplay as well, all of that can encompass sex. It's not just intercourse. So having erotic talk with yourself, with your partner, if you're not able to have sex and you guys really want to connect and explore this. Also, you may just want to have a night of just talking dirty with each other, being connected and just holding each other and just talking and fantasizing with each other without even having an orgasm as the outcome in mind. When you allow yourself to remove the orgasm as the end game, as the destination, that opens up an entire new adventure around your sexual play with you and your partner. Also, if you don't like the foreplay approach, not a lot of people enjoy foreplay, and that's okay. Everybody experiences and loves and explores and has their own sexual experiences based off what they love and what they like, which is why consent is always number one. Always. But if you're not really into foreplay, right? You don't really like that approach, but you're not really comfortable letting your partner know. Your partner's undressing you or something and you're just not into foreplay, then you can create a story and you communicate your preferences without really ruining the mood. So if you're not sure what to say, you're not really into foreplay, you can just be like, you know, I just really want you to bend me over and fuck me. I just want you to pull my hair and smack my ass. I just want you to push me up against the wall and, you know, fuck me. Or I just want to throw you on the bed and ride you. Whatever the case may be, you can guide them to what it is that you want. And coming from an honest place, partner is definitely willing and wanting to go there with you. So explore that. If you're not wanting to go through foreplay and you just want to, you know, do it, then utilize that. And also too, if you want to increase arousal, right? So let's say you're in the mood and your partner's not so much in the mood. And that happens all the time. People are off on different things. Things happen in their life. There's hormonal imbalances. Again, we can go back to, you know, sexual restraints that are going on. So many people, so many things going on. So like after a long day of work, you may want to have sex, but it's like you're just not feeling it. Or so erotic talk can help. How's the difference? How can you really talk? There is a difference between men and women. And again, when I'm talking about this, about the men, women in the binary sense, I'm just utilizing it so that way there's this definitive understanding of the masculine and feminine, whether or not you identify or how you identify. If you identify with both, then that's fantastic. But typically for men, it's listing more of the physical attributes, the details of the body, the breasts, the clit, the ass, talking about those aspects and bringing them in to your erotic talk. But for her, it's really more of an elaborate narrative. So, like caressing her, biting her, licking her, pulling her hair. Of course, if there's consent and your partner likes that, you always want to explore it. And you can always start light. And you can use erotic talk to describe what it is that you want to do. If you've never pulled your partner's hair and spanked her ass at the same time while whether you're in doggy style or whether you have her bent over something and you've always wanted to, this is an opportunity where you can slowly do it and just be like, I just want to pull your hair and smack your ass. And then you can listen, pay attention to your partner's response. How is she responding? Is her breath becoming heavier? Is she moaning instantly? Is she screaming out, yes, do it? And this gives you that enthusiastic consent to do what it is that you want to do. And same for you if you are the one bent over and you want to have your hair pulled and you want to be pounded like a little pound cake, whatever it is that you want to do, then this is an opportunity for you to utilize erotic talk and share that. And for some people out there, I have quite a lot of people who are definitely more open with their sexuality and their partners and the way that they talk to their partners. So this may seem like, well, yeah. But for those of you out there who are just exploring this, and sometimes when we talk erotic and we say something, or we feel like we want to say something, or we have this desire or fantasy of some sort, and we think about it, it causes and it brings up a resistance within us, right? So then we start to feel that feeling in our stomach. We start to feel a frustration or a shutdown. We'll start to feel jealous or angry. These are all emotions and responses to pay attention to when you are utilizing erotic talk. This is really how you can really dive into a lot of sexual shame transmutation. And when we're doing it with ourselves, when we are in a masturbation session and we are really talking to ourselves erotically, can help. Now, whether you start off in your head, but I encourage you as parts of practice, which will get you with some practice and some homework. I'm going to send you off with some homework so you can practice talking dirty, and then I want to hear you talk dirty to me. But there's going to be some exercises and things that you can do, but I encourage you to speak out loud to yourself. What is it that you are fantasizing about? Are you allowing yourself to fantasize about your own body while you are caressing your breasts and while you're slowly going down your waist and slowly wrapping your hand and rubbing it and caressing your ass and bringing it back up and up through your hair? Are you exploring yourself? Are you taking the time with yourself and making it an erotic, playful, sexy, fantasy-driven experience for yourself? Or are you trying to just get to the end point and just, have an orgasm and be done? Sometimes that's cool too. Maybe it's like you've had a long day, you're really tired, and you know that if you had an orgasm that it would be fantastic and you can just go right to sleep. Other times you want to have a ritual with it. Other times you want to get sexy with it. Other times you want to get kinky with it. Bringing in toys, all sorts of different toys. We're going to have an episode where we talk about different toys. So there's going to be a whole lot of fun stuff, and we're going to have amazing guests coming on the show too. So anyways, I digress. Let's go ahead and take a hit. Meet me back here. Okay. I'm telling you, this weed is so fucking good. I love it. It just, you have that nice smooth hit. And I know there's all this, dabs and edibles, and there's such amazing things, but I am definitely an old school flower girl. I love the smoke. I love the smell of the flowers. I love everything about it. Anyways, let's get back to talking dirty to each other. So these are all perfect ways and perfect experiences to be able to explore your erotic talk and how it can help bring up any sort of emotional responses, mental responses, even the physical response. Typically when we have a resistance, our bodies literally shut down. So if we were at one point very free and our body was very open and we were just really allowing all of our body to be viewed and loved and rubbed and licked from our partner. When we have that resistance, we feel our body contract. Instead of being open and expanded, it closes and contracts. So when utilizing erotic talk with yourself and your partner, you're able to see where you're holding in some resistance or some shame or trauma that you can work through. And that's where you can really tap into your orgasmic healing and orgasmic manifestations to really go through and heal and transmute this sexual shame through the power of your orgasm. So let's move into sensual talk. When we talk about sensual talk, when we're talking erotically, we want to utilize our senses. So when we're talking about sensual talk, we're talking about sound, taste, touch, smell, sight. And these are all things that we can tap into when we are exploring erotic talk and having fun with our partners. So when we talk about sound, sensual talk, right, there's so many different sounds that can happen, whether it's giggling or laughing. There's moaning and deep breathing. There's screaming. There's sighing. There's quiet. There's purring. Just all sorts of wonderful sounds. You know, when we hear stuff and it just how ASMR works, right? When we hear something that's extremely sexy to us, that turns us on and that gets us feeling super good, all of our senses work together because we are living a human life. So when we hear something that does that, our physical body reacts, right? So our taste reacts, our touch reacts, our smells react. Everything reacts to each other. And so when we allow ourselves to explore with sound, especially different music while we're doing it, but the way that we talk, whether we are talking all super flirty or we talk very sexually and just kind of be who we are in that moment, then, we can invoke something not only within ourselves, but with our partners. So sound is super fun, especially if you love music too. I mean, music is a big thing. So now let's get into taste now. When we do the episode on aphrodisiacs, we'll definitely talk a lot about what specific types of foods can be aphrodisiacs, but a lot of people love to play with food and sex. And it's to each their own. Not everybody loves it because people don't either like the stickiness. Some people love the stickiness. When you put all of these together, then that is working in conjunction with increasing the experience itself, the sensory experience. Because again, we are humans. As human, we came to experience the human sensual experience. Everything in our life is sensual. And when we can mix our erotic talk and our sexual experiences with our sensual experiences, magic. So if you're into adding food and wanting to try different things, there's peanut butter, there's chocolate or honey, syrup, cinnamon or wine. Always remember, just making sure, never insert food inside the vagina. Always make sure we keep it external. Okay, so we never want to insert food. We want to keep it external. Even though you may want to lick all up in there and have that honey coming through, it is not healthy for the vagina. It can cause yeast infections, other infections. It throws off the pH balance. So we want to keep our kitty cats absolutely perfect the way they are as us. But if you want to experience some things, there's flavored body oils, lip gloss, whipped cream, or even just the skin. Some people just love the sweat as well, and they want to taste everything about it. Because when we, of course, are turned on, then our pheromones are happening. And so if we have our sound going and we're listening to hot, heavy breathing and moans and mixing it in with all these fabulous tastes, it increases all of our sexual experiences. And of course, it opens us up a little bit more too. So it gives us more opportunity to talk about what it is that we want to talk about, diving more into our fantasies. And then, of course, touch, right? Touch is obviously one of the biggest things when we are with, 1% of women can actually orgasm through just thought fantasy alone. When we are in an experience with somebody else or within ourselves, touch is such a very powerful thing. And especially if you're one of my clients and I'm walking you through how to do a body reconnection session, Touching is extremely important within ourselves, how we touch ourselves, and then of course how we speak about ourselves, and allowing ourselves to be fully immersed in all of these senses. But touching ourselves explores how, again, we have a response. So whether we have a traumatic response that we need to heal, or there's some sort of shame, we're able to utilize these senses to, oh, deja vu. Oh, it's still going. Oh, yes. This is a long ass fucking deja vu. Oh my God, it's still fucking going. Y'all. We are in the right place at the right time doing the right things. That's right. I'm talking about all the sexy fucking sensual experiences and licking and tasting and growling. And I am in the right place at the right time doing the right motherfucking thing. Anyways, let's take a hit. Okay. So, taking some time for touch. And also, depending on the energy that's happening, allow yourself to definitely read the room. Reading yourself, reading your partner. Is the energy more fast going? Is it more rough? Is it more hands on? Is there more touch? Is it more light? Is it more sensual in the aspect of not as you're building up to more intense erotic play? And what you can do is know that there's 9 erogenous zones. I know Monica said that there were 7, but there are 9. So incorporating these erogenous zones with touch, along with sound and taste, continues to build up the sensual and the sensory experience that you are having. So what are the 9 erogenous zones? Scalp, eyes, ears, mouths, lips, the neck, hands, breasts, pubic area, and feet. So when you're exploring touch with your partner, incorporating those are going to be extremely helpful. So where to touch? Of course, your erogenous zones, breasts, thighs, the lower back, the neck, the nipples. Whether you are brushing your hand or using feathers, or whether you have handcuffs, using your fingertips, just exploring your body and exploring your partner's body with wonder, with excitement, with curiosity, because even though you may know this person and you may know yourself, when you go into each sexual experience with curiosity, that opens up so much more excitement and exhilaration and adventure. Because remember, what we were, who we were last week, we aren't today. And who we are today, we won't be tomorrow or the next day. So we are only present in the present moment. We are only living in the present. And by going into, even just without talking about sex and an erotic play with your partner or yourself, but just everyday life, when you go into each present moment with curiosity and excitement for wonder and wonder for what's going to happen, that leaves open so much room for activities and opportunities. Look, if you're new here, again, welcome. This is a great episode to jump in on. My guides tend to speak to me through movies and songs and TV shows and musicals and stuff like that. So if you hear me referencing movies, that's why. It helps me clearly understand what I'm expressing and trying to get that point across. So anyways, it gives us more opportunity and more room for that, as well as it opens up space for receiving. And when we open up space for receiving, that gives us the opportunity to heal, to transmute, and to manifest. So playing around with touch and taste and sound, incorporating all of those together, which we're about to get to smell as well. But when you incorporate those along with the erogenous zones, you are really creating a sexually sensory experience. And this is really the orgasmic joy and pleasure of life. So let's get into smell, right? Smells can definitely trigger extremely blissful memories. You ever, like, you're walking somewhere or even in your house and all of a sudden you catch a whiff of something and you like have a memory come back, right? So incorporating smells with your sex is fantastic. Now, of course, there's our natural scents, our pheromones. Everybody has their own amazing, beautiful scent. And when you mix that together, you're creating a very powerful emotional, physical, mental response. And we have reached sight. So now tapping in and understanding all of these different senses within ourselves and how we can utilize them to incorporate in our erotic talk, right? because we are sensual beings. We want to use our sensual. So, of course, sight is everything. Whether you're watching porn, whether you are watching your partner come and you are watching their whole body go through the orgasmic experience, their face, their body, whether you are watching yourselves in the mirror, looking at his hard cock or her erect nipples, bouncing ass, whatever the case may be, utilizing all of these together to incorporate into your erotic talk. And there's all sorts of different places like where, you can talk about places, fun locations, the forest, which is always fun outside, sex clubs, on stage. That's always a fun one. And utilizing the on stage one can definitely help you understand if you are an exhibitionist. So just some fun little side trick right there. Or like in a roller coaster, in a closet, in a bookstore, in a movie theater, at the beach. So there's all these different places where you can explore. And now that you know you can explore, how do you do it? How do you get started, right? If you're not used to talking dirty with your partner or erotic talk with your partner, then it can be a little confusing or a little embarrassing. And this actually holds back people from talking erotically with their partners. And I think it's really important to understand that you're not alone in that feeling. And if you really want to explore erotic talk, then pushing past those little resistances or feeling embarrassed will help you, like we talked about before. It'll help you in the other aspects of your partnership, whether it increases communication and betters communication in other areas of your life with your relationship, or even in other areas of your life. When you are able to confidently start to explore erotic talk and be confident in what it is that you want to experience sexually, it translates to every single aspect of your life. Because again, remember, everything starts with creation, and creation starts around our sex, our sexuality, our sexual experiences, and our sexual nature. So let's play with it, right? We want to play with it. And when we play, we're manifesting. And just remember too, your erotic talk will always be so much better when you have adjectives and adverbs. They enhance the sentences. They really kind of create depth to the fantasy. So what are some adjectives to use? Sometimes we come up, we're like, oh, I don't know what to say, or I'm not sure what words to use. So sexy, hot, milky, soft, smooth, wet, cool, hard, tender, open, long, wide, sticky, thick, precious, tasty, warm, deep, round, easy, radiant, strong, curvy, delicate, sensitive, raw, hungry, honest, squishy, clear, clean, patient, wild, horny, vivacious. These are all wonderful adjectives that you can utilize. What are some adverbs, right? Carefully, beautifully, patiently, sensuously, dramatically, feverishly, magically. That's one of my favorites. Romantically, softly, tenderly, firmly, passionately, erotically. And remember, utilizing your voice, talking in different ways, whether you choose to go into a foreign accent, if that's fun for you and you're enjoying that play, or typically the woman's voice will kind of drop a little bit lower as a natural response in her erotic talk. And of course, depending on the dynamic, if you are in a dom-sub relationship, and this probably is a bit easier for you to come to and talk about your fantasies and have erotic talk play. But utilizing the different aspects of your voice, and then adding these adverbs and adjectives to, the things that you see, the sights, the sounds, the smells, the tastes. These are all how you can kind of put together, which brings us to the formula of starting to talk dirty. And then once you get started, it tends to kind of just roll with it. And when you allow yourself to relax and play in it, that's when you start to get more creative and different words come out. And you may say words that you didn't think that actually turned you on. And you're like, oh, fuck. Does this turn me on? Do I like this? And you're going to be like, fuck yeah, I do. So here's the simple formula. Noun plus adverb plus verb plus adjective plus adjective plus noun plus verb plus adverb. So here's an example. My cock wants to hastily dive into your slippery cave. Yes. Here's another one. Her hot, wet lips quivered excitedly as the stud's thick, hard cock wildly approached. Now, I know that sometimes it can start turning into like a romance novel, but that's okay. It's having fun with it. And when you're having erotic talk with your partner and you're exploring different fantasies that you want to talk about, you may be talking about somebody else, somebody joining into your sexual experience and talking about a threesome or a foursome or even a full orgy with 5+. Depending on what it is, you can explain it and explore it through the storytelling. And that's really what erotic talk is. After 48 minutes of talking to y'all, you're just telling a sexual, sensual story that is in your mind and in your head and what you want to experience, your curiosity for it, your desire for the adventure of it, and the play. This is all about play. So now that we've really moved into how to come up with the sentences, the formula of it, all the different sensory things that you can bring into it, the adjectives, the adverbs, what are some fun exercises and some fun games that you can do? So let's talk about some exercises first, especially if you're kind of new to this. Some of the best ways to start talking erotically is to read erotica to each other. Listen to an erotic audio recording together, which, hint, hint, guess what's coming? Not you yet. But you will be. You can watch, obviously, an erotic video together. You can look at an erotic magazine. You can write erotic notes to each other. Sometimes when we write things out, it's easier for us to write it out than to say it. And so if you start in that way, that could at least kind of get the flow moving and the adventure happening and the curiosity and exploration expanding. You can also record an erotic message and leave it on their phone. So there's lots of different ways to get started on how to do it. And sometimes you could encourage your partner to start to talk erotically. So if you have a bit more confidence in doing it and your partner may not be, you can ask them, if you had 3 wishes for me to perform, what would they be? So I wish that you would lick my nipples. I wish that you would suck my balls. What would you wish for? And so if you approach this again in play and curiosity to your partner, this gives them the opportunity to start to see what their emotional, their body, their physical, mental, emotional responses are. It also practices trust. You are creating a safe space for them to explore this with you, which is creating trust in them, creating trust in you, and creating a more intimate connection, bettering communication with each other. And that's where we come back to transmute sexual trauma, sexual shame, is creating trust. And so if you're still at a loss really of kind of how to get started, there are some phrases. So here's some phrases you can write down to kind of help get started and start that momentum going. It feels so good when you touch finish it. Your blank is beautiful. I want you to blank my blank. I love your blank. My blank is so blank. Blank me in the blank. And you are so blank. So these, it's like those fill-in things, you know. What are they called? I forgot the name of them. Somebody drop it down below. Remind me the name of them. Anyways, I digress. But you can utilize this formula to help yourself and help your partner. So there's so many different wonderful exercises and tools and exploration that you can utilize with your erotic talk. It can also help you as we talk about sexual shame transmutation, but we've also talked about building trust, building better communication. It could help you better communicate your sexual needs to your partner by not only communicating your sexual needs, but you could be expressing yourself and satisfying your partner's sexual needs. So, how can you start to build up trust in the communication with each other in an intimate way, um, which expands and explores the erotic way to help both you and your partner receive and communicate your sexual needs? So, of course, telling your partner all the things that you love most about them. And you can do that in erotic talk as well. I love the way that your cock feels inside of me, or I love the way that your hand caresses down my back, or I love feeling your lips on the back of my neck. All of these things in the erotic zone, you can express to your partner, communicating those sexual needs and expressing to them how much you love it. And an attentive, present partner will have a response to that. So they'll have a smell or a taste or a physical response, and that will trigger memories of that, and that will keep it in their memory bank and yours. And also remembering to express appreciation for your partner. If you are in a symbiotic, interdependent, healthy relationship, expressing appreciation to your partner physically, intellectually, emotionally, of course, deepens intimacy and deepens communication. It betters communication. It builds trust. And when that trust is built, that's really where you start to see a lot more of expanded exploration in your erotic play. So here's an exercise that you can do with you and your partner is you can exchange a wish list of 3 things that you think may heighten the sexual experiences for you. So just like we talked about, like if you had 3 wishes that I could grant you and would do with you, to you, for you, what would they be? What would you want? So exchanging these 3 wishes like that can create like a fun date night for you and your partner to explore. Now, when you are exploring and talking erotic talk, whether you're exploring and talking about different fantasies, let's say you both want to experience a threesome, and you coming from a place of wanting to experience a threesome and having a third person come in, not from a place of lack, but from a place of fulfillment, of sexual and emotional satisfaction and exploration and adventure. Always first looking at your intention and the reasoning behind of why you want to explore adding in another person into your sexual play. And so it's important to communicate exactly what you want, what you will do, and what you won't do, and being very clear on this. Now, as you expand, as you change, as you explore and start to have more sexual experiences, kinky experiences, whether you add a third person, a fourth person, whether you go to a sex club, whether you start to explore swinging, having a set boundary list with your partner regarding your erotic play is extremely important, and that will ensure that you both respect each other's boundaries, there's consent with you, and then that also gives you a place to start talking erotically and talking about your fantasies with your partner from a place that feels confident and feels strong and good and powerful. You know, we've talked about different ways to have erotic talk with your partner and erotic play, including phone sex. Sexting with your partner, we have to remember, though, that is with a trusted person, and that we are very careful and we're paying attention when we are sexting with somebody, and that we are not just replying to a text that we think is our partner and it's not our partner, and we end up sending something super fucking hot but not meant for them, especially without consent. So exploring that aspect, doing video chats, FaceTiming, all of these are fantastic things, especially if you have a long distance relationship or if your partner's traveling for some reason, and you both just kind of want to explore that play. So these are all of this exploration and erotic talk and erotic play is really there to help increase your sexual experiences, your sensory experiences as a human, right? We are here as energetic beings living human existence life. And so our human experience is for us to experience all of the senses, and that includes everything wrapped around our sexuality and our sexual experiences. So what are some fun games that you can do? There's games, there's exercises that we've talked about, but you can create games, right? So you can do like You can create like a board game, or you can create dice, or you can get sexy dice, right? There's games out there that you toss it and it's like whatever, one dice is a location and the other dice is an activity, and you, of course, through consent, you do that and you explore that and you play with that. So finding games around erotic play and erotic talk, you can create erotic songs. Again, you can post erotic messages for your lover to find. You can get into your erotic role. And we'll talk more deeply on roles when we do our episode on fantasies and role play. But this gives you an opportunity to become somebody, not so much somebody else, but another aspect of yourself, a version of yourself that you want to be able to explore in this way. It's part of who you are, and again, we are not single faceted beings. We are multifaceted beings. We have multiple dynamics and dimensions and depths to us. So, exploring erotic roles is super fun and creates such a powerful playtime. So, we have spent an hour talking dirty with each other. I love that. That's hot. Um, If you have lasted this whole hour, I commend you and thank you for your time, your energy, your focus, your presence. And I'm excited for what's to come down the line with the Sexual Alchemist podcast and more that I'll be announcing. I think I'm going to do an announcement episode, or maybe I'll go live. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just kind of playing around with it. Maybe I'll talk dirty to myself and figure out what I want to do. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and end the show on that note. And for your homework, I encourage you to utilize one of these tools that I gave you, utilize the formula, and talk dirty with your partner. Create an erotic, playful situation, create an erotic adventure, create an erotic game, and do something slightly different. If you already do a lot of erotic talk and fantasy talk with your partner, I encourage you to slightly push your boundaries a little bit more and see exactly what might be hiding within just underneath for not only you, but possibly for your partner as well. And see how you can take this to another level of communication on an intimate level, in a trusting level. And I encourage you to utilize the orgasm through this erotic play and erotic talk with this homework to heal and release, let go of any shame surrounding the adventure beyond the boundaries that you have already explored. You've been walking up and down that boundary line, and you're ready to kind of push it a little bit and see what might be fun for you, with consent, of course. Enthusiastic consent. Oh, I looked at 111 again. All right, so that's it. I hope you had a wonderful time, and I love you guys so, so much, and I will talk to you on the next episode. Later.